Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. We are very, very proud that you are here. We have an excellent rendition for you this evening, and I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. We're going to explore some stuff. Let's just put it that way. We are all over the social media as Doc Owen Show, DocOwenShow. Always spelled the same way. You can find us on Facebook. We would love for you to go out there and give us a like, a little thumbs up routine. The best place to follow is on Twitter, because no matter what we do, it comes out on Twitter. So that's a good way to, get noticed that the show is on the air. We have a blog that is growing thanks to Uncle Labachi that you will meet in just a moment. Actually, you should have met him before, but I'm out of sequence, so that's just sort of the way it works. We have, from time to time, we have free FREE apps for both the iPhone and the Android. You can go out to your respective store and download Doc Owen Show, get access to our entire 4 years of library of shows, and listen to them 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time, whatever's your pleasure. Sit down and take on 3 or 4 hours of it. That's just fine by us. I am joined in the Hilltop Studios tonight, as always, by
I'm a Surefire
and
Uncle Bachi,
and we are ready to rock and roll. We start the show in a very traditional manner, although sometimes backwards instead of forwards, like that one just was. And that is, we go, Ms. Surefire gives us a moment of inspiration, an inspirational quote. Uncle Bachi, in general, gives us today in history, although I was informed earlier that there will not be one of those tonight, because this day in history was absolutely void of anything noteworthy, according to Uncle Bachi. I think the rain got to him, and he just didn't.
Think so.
I think, Anyway.
I'll give you a short quote instead.
Brief. You know how I am about the word short. And so.
Sorry.
And then I will finish it out with a leadership quote or two. Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote, as usual, comes from brainyquote.com. That's BRAINY quote.com. And tonight's quote comes from a gentleman by the name of Tony Robbins.
Oh.
He is an American author and several other things, among them being a life coach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And his quote is, "Surmounting difficulty is the crucible that forms character."
Okay. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Overcoming difficulty.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's true.
That's exactly right.
I've lived through that myself. Mm-hmm.
Uncle Bachi?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see if you can tell who this quote is from.
Okay. All right. You're going to just throw something out there and test and see if it's real?
Right.
Okay.
When the people fear its government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty.
Right.
You know who said that?
Alfred E. Newman.
No, it was his cousin, Thomas Jefferson.
No, of course.
Yeah, that was on my mind, so I thought I'd share.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad that was on your mind. I have actually 2 leadership quotes from our friends at the Optimist Club, who gave me a book a couple of years ago when I spoke. The first one is from a fellow by the name of Theodore Geisel, Geisel. You may know him as my favorite doctor, Dr. Zeus. If you never did, you should. These things are fun, and fun is good. I like the way he talks.
Yeah.
And then the second one is actually from author unknown. So that's an easy one to look up. Faith makes things possible, not easy.
True. Good one.
Faith makes things possible, but not easy. All right. Tonight's show includes a conversation that we had earlier in the week with our district attorney here in Bexar County, a young man by the name of Nico Lahood. Nico's a good friend of the show, and we sit down about once a month, approximately as time allows. So we rarely talk politics. We always talk current events. So Nico and I, our conversation tonight is about the NFL protests, and he always gives a fresh look on that. And then we are going to continue our conversation that was started last week about the deep state and definitions of the deep state, how to spot it, what to look for, and maybe some current events that you're just not aware that you're connecting the events having to do with this thing called the deep state. So before we get into that, we have our little history lesson called Uncle Bocce's Brief, which is a 8 to 10 to whatever few minute brief of and our series right now is we're going through the presidencies. If I'm not mistaken, we are on president number 4.
That's correct.
Round 2.
Yes,
correct,
sir. Yes.
Hoo-yah. Yeah. Uncle Bocce.
Okay.
Take it away, sir.
Continuing on James Madison.
James the Madison.
Yes, sir. James Madison, he continued, as far as policy was concerned, he pretty much continued along the lines of what Thomas Jefferson had implemented because he was the Secretary of State for Thomas Jefferson. So he was sworn in on March 4th, 1809 for his first term at the Capitol, and he was sworn in by John Marshall. And his second inauguration 4 years later.
John Marshall being?
He was the Supreme Court.
The Chief
Justice of the Supreme Court.
Okay. At the time, there were how many?
There were 6, I believe.
At that time? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
5 or 6, yeah.
So, some of the major issues that were facing Madison was the country faced a difficult war.
Okay. With
Great Britain. There was inflation was galloping. There were financial troubles, and there was lack of cooperation between the different levels of government. So that's what he had facing him. One of the really big issues, and it's still an issue today, is that of national bank. Today we call it the Federal Reserve.
Of having a national
bank. Yeah, having a national bank.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Alexander Hamilton was the one who instituted that. He felt very, very strongly that we needed, and he backed the national bank.
Right.
And he got one chartered for 20 years. So it's about due for expiration during Madison's term. So now, he was faced with a dilemma.
Was Madison in favor of or against or?
As a Democratic, as a Democratic Republican, he was very much opposed to it.
So that put him at odds.
That's why I said, he had a dilemma. So, but they let the charter expire anyway. Okay, but after the War of 1812, Madison kind of changed his tune on that. Because he realized, and this is still up for question, that it is almost impossible to conduct a war, the War of 1812, without a national bank. Topic for discussion at some later date, I guess.
Somebody's got to finance it.
Exactly.
Can't do it on cash. You need a credit card.
Exactly. So he did finally give in and chartered the second bank in the United States for basically 21 years. And his fellow Democratic Republicans were furious with him for doing that. They said he sold out.
Yep.
You hear that a lot today too. So he did participate in the purchase of Louisiana Territory with Thomas Jefferson. Another interesting area was American Indian policies or Native American policies. Madison kind of had a paternalistic view of the Indian relation. So did Thomas Jefferson. He felt very strongly that it was our duty to get them to assimilate into the new country, the new way of doing things. He he even ordered the government one time to protect native land. So he was kind of like on their side a little bit. But the westward expansion was unstoppable.
Right.
It was absolutely unstoppable.
As a result, they were saying one thing in Washington, but doing something else on the frontier.
Exactly. And I'll point that out.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's all right. So he felt it was the government's responsibility to assimilate them. He actually went so far as to say they need to stop hunting, stop being hunters, and become farmers, because he thought that being farmers, it would be easier for them to assimilate into our agricultural economy. So, and that
was he backed by the beef lobby?
I don't know about the beef
Buffalo
lobby. Yeah. At one point, I don't know. At one point, he even ordered the U.S. Army to protect native lands. Guess who did not like that?
Protect
his chief
from whom?
From the settlers.
Okay.
And his chief military commander, was Andrew Jackson. So Andrew Jackson was horrified about that. He was very upset about his attitude towards the Indians. So he pretty much did not even push the idea. He kind of decided on his own that he wasn't going to put that forward. Yeah, basically he ignored it. And to give you an idea of what was happening, by 1815, the territory, or now the state of Ohio, had 400,000 European Americans, settlers in Ohio. Wow. So Indian rights to their land was effectively become null and void because there were just too many
overrun.
people. They were overrun.
Yeah.
This was a big time of industrialization and commerce, and Madison, he wanted that. He pushed it. He was looking for an economic plan that improved transportation, restrictions on imports, and the power of a national bank. Those were the things, because he had changed his mind after 1812. But he was fearful of giving the federal government too much, as the founders obviously did not want the central government to be that strong. So, but he promoted industry and commerce, but he wanted that to be done privately. He didn't want the government to be involved at all.
He was just promoting the concept.
He was promoting exactly.
Okay.
But
not interfering in it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. He wanted an effective taxation system based on tariffs. If you remember, the Constitution allowed tariffs as being, it did not allow the income tax. But anyway, that's where he went. And something that I don't think is constitutional, you can argue with me in that, but he was in favor of a standing professional military. Okay?
Okay.
A standing professional military, which I think some of the founders were very frowned upon. They didn't think that we needed to have it. But
okay. Well, we'll take it up in a little
yeah,
bit.
I'm just
eat into your time.
This was his attitude.
Right.
So, he even in 1816 he extended orphans and widows the pensions that were extended to their husbands who fought in the war.
Nice.
So yeah, that was nice. His foreign policy included trading rights, territorial disputes along the Canadian border leading up to the War of 1812. And there was one other thing that was happening a lot. It's called impressment, and he was against that. Now, what impressment was, very simply, the Royal Navy, well, kind of. The Royal Navy had the habit of attacking American ships, taking the sailors, and impressing them into the service of the Royal Navy. So they were doing this on the high seas, and so Madison was very upset about that. Britain and France went to war. There were many debates on what the foreign policy should be. The War of 1812 finally ended, and it was by the Treaty of Ghent, which is in Brussels, or not Brussels, in Belgium. And there were still problems with the Jay Treaty. If you remember, that was where Washington negotiated having good economic relationships with Britain.
Right.
Okay. So that was an issue because Madison did not, and a lot of people did not. They were upset with Washington that he even did that. But Madison so much so that it broke their friendship.
He and John Jay?
He and Washington, George Washington.
George Washington?
They were very good friends, but at that point, boom, no more. Okay, so there was a big debate over that treaty. The War of 1812 began, and they actually did. He did get the Congress to declare the war,
Right.
which is the proper way of declaring war.
Right.
Okay. He had many writings. Of course, the most prominent being the Constitution,
Yep.
which, of course, he had a lot of help and debate about it, but he did. He has the most extensive notes on the debates in the Federal Convention of 1787.
Right.
Okay. You want to
Madison's
find out
notes.
what was going on?
Right.
He has the notes, and
Wow.
they're out there published, available to you. I'll put
Interesting.
them out on the website.
Good.
Okay. His inaugural addresses were not, I mean, they were just blah. There wasn't very much about it. And there was a lot of laws passed. There was the issue of West Florida. Madison considered West Florida to be part of the Louisiana Purchase,
Oh, okay.
but the Spanish did not.
Did not agree.
So
Right.
there was tensions there. Eventually, Madison just said, "We're occupying it." So
Okay.
they took West Florida.
And what did that mean in those days, West Florida? That spot up there on the top, or no? It was the map was drawn differently.
yeah, because the Florida
was much
territory,
bigger.
went from the peninsula to the Panhandle,
Yeah.
all the way across, all the way to the Mississippi River.
It came all the
Okay,
way
so
over
that
to
was all
Louisiana.
Spanish. Yes,
All
that
the way
was
over
all
to the
Spanish.
French
Right,
Louisiana.
and it was divided with West and East Florida.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
We had to
they
paint that
occupied
picture
it.
we had to paint that picture for our readers because
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry.
Right.
You're absolutely right. So
listeners, not readers. Nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, eventually they did take West Florida, and they did gain the rest of Florida from Spain
right.
in a negotiation for payment.
Okay.
What else was there? The U.S. Navy, he refused to enlarge the Navy. The Army, he wanted to increase.
Folks, you need to know, Bocce is reviewing from highlights of multiple pages of notes,
Absolutely.
all of which
Absolutely.
he publishes on the blog.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the historical, we're giving you the highlights, and because we think they're important.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, good.
I mean, you do a lot of homework.
Lots of research.
There's so much out there.
When you hear him flipping all these pages, it's not because he's reading from a 48 font.
Yeah.
And there's only 4 words on a page.
So anyway, Louisiana became a state during his term, and also Indiana became a state. And that's
Okay.
about it.
Okay, let's review something.
Yes, sir.
Let's connect some dots.
Sure. I know I go real fast, and like you said,
No,
trying to
connect-
get through the highlights.
That's all right. We'll connect some dots to today is what I was going to do.
Oh yeah,
We're only in the 4th president of the United States.
that's right.
We're only 4 people in, right?
That's correct.
And we already have commanders of the Army, heads of other areas of government saying no
Right.
to the president.
That's correct.
We're not going to do that,
Right.
right?
Right.
But that's the first time. The first 3 all pretty much had their
They had no
way.
opposition.
They
They had
had
their way.
very little opposition.
Right.
In other words, these guys are right. So we had George Washington,
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson.
Or John. Don't forget John Adams, though.
I was pointing to you for number 2. I knew Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
All of whom were respected and got very little pushback.
Exactly. And
Okay.
all four were founding fathers.
Exactly. So that's about a generation. Can we say that?
Sure.
Did all of them serve like 2 terms?
Except for Adams.
Okay.
Adams screwed up.
So we had 16, we had 20 years. That's approximately a generation of people, right? So now we get to the next generation, president number 4, and we start getting pushback.
That's correct.
We start with, you mentioned Andrew Jack, and this is just now coming to me, so I'm connecting dots in my mind and trying to relay it to the audience.
Exactly.
This is the first time we've really seen that, is what I'm saying.
Yes, it is.
So now we'll be cognizant of it, and we'll watch for it as we go through the rest of the presidencies, if how much control or influence the president actually had trying to do what he supposedly was voted in to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, so it's going to be fun. It's going to get better.
Oh, it always does.
Yeah.
Okay. Who are you?
Yes, I am Uncle Bocce.
I mean, thank you for stopping by, but tell them who you are.
Yeah, well, you mean I want you're trying to tell me to leave?
Nope.
No, I'm Uncle Bocce, UNCLEBACI at DocOwenShow.com.
There you go.
And I'm there waiting for you anytime.
Thank you.
Give him a challenge. So before thanks, Bocce. Good job.
Thank you.
Before we get into the conversation with Mr. Nico Lahood, I'll do just a little bit of a front runner in case you're new to the show. Yes, Mr. Lahood is the local district attorney for Bexar County here in San Antonio, Texas. No, our conversations are not focused on San Antonio, Texas.
Right.
Nico's a bright young man with a very interesting background, and we enjoy having him on because of his clarity of thought.
Sure do.
He has taught me a new phrase, and that is don't react, respond. And the key to that is take your time, do your homework, think about it, and then respond, no matter what the situation.
That is so true.
And I can't guarantee you that I do it all the time. As a matter of fact, I can guarantee you that I don't do it all the time, but I try. It's a good practice.
Yeah.
Don't react, respond. So, having said that, let's listen to the conversation that we recently had with Nico about the NFL protests that are going on, and we will be back right after. I'll even make an announcement this time so I don't have to on the radio. We're about to have one of our regular but irregular, there's no set time, a conversation with the Bexar County District Attorney, Nico Lahood. And the first thing that I want all of you to chime in with me on, and I'm not going to sing it because I have a terrible singing voice. I like it, but nobody else seems to. And happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Nico just had two celebrations over the last couple of weeks. Three.
Are celebrations of birthdays or
no? Well,
else?
no. One was the birthday, and the other one was your running for office again.
Oh, yes.
So I call that a celebration.
The insanity of wanting to be back in the political arena.
This young man has done a heck of a job. He's kept himself and his office pretty much out of the press,
right,
out of the negative press,
right, and
that's very important. So you can do your job without taking a bunch of undue flack. So
right.
Congratulations,
well, thank you.
And thank you for your service. I mean, you did a good job.
It means that means more than you think. There's politicians out there, and then there's public servants.
Yes.
If you want to get sideways with me, call me a politician.
Right.
I don't care for politicians. I mean, and that's a mindset. It's not the people. It's a mindset behind someone that's supposed to be a public servant. I love statesmen and stateswomen and people that look at themselves as public servants that they're okay if they're not in that position. That's not my identity. I always tell people, it comes in this order. I'm a child of God. I'm a husband. I'm a daddy. I'm a brother, and I'm a friend. And I happen to be the DA.
Right.
In that order.
Right.
So it's what I do. It's not who I am. It's just an avenue to serve.
I don't know how. You probably know how long we've been doing this. I don't. 18 months, 2 years, whatever.
2 years, for sure.
It's been a couple of years.
2 years for sure.
I keep trying to find a chink in this guy's armor, and
It ain't there.
Well, I don't know about that. It's there, brother. I'm a
Well,
broken
it's sort of like
SOB
this guy.
anybody else.
Okay.
I just think
I
things
don't
through.
want to. I don't want to see you in that mode.
But, I just think things through. Whether people want to agree with me on different issues or not, I will assure people that I'm not a soundbite person. I'm not a soundbite public servant or
Respond, don't react.
Respond, don't react. And so I think about stuff. And if someone says, "What do you think about this?" I don't know. Or let me think about it. Or let me research it.
Right.
I'd rather take my time and keep my mouth shut, and then think and pray about whatever the issue is. And then
Right.
when I give an answer, it's a well thought out answer.
Right.
Deliberate. I want to be deliberate.
I know you're that way,
Yeah.
and greatly appreciate
I
it.
haven't always been that way. 45 years, but
Maybe that's why we're like, simpatico, because, totally. I used to be a lot more opinionated than I am.
Well, I'm opinionated.
Today.
I'm just not
Well, I mean, I
emotional.
was out there.
Remember, there's passion and emotion are different.
I was out there, and a lot of times I should have thought it through.
Well, I think back at the 30-year-old Nico Lahood and the 25-year-old, even the 32,
Right.
33-year-old, especially before I met my wife. And I think back, I was like, man, what a dumbass sometimes, I mean, really, I think back and it's like, what would I say to the 30-year-old Nico?
I'm a little older
Can I
than
say that
you
on-
are. You can't
on
imagine.
radio? But I would just give different advice.
Yeah.
And so when people look at me and think, man, you're just so you're calm under pressure. I'm passionate again.
Yep.
A passion is okay. Anger is okay. Anger gets a bad rap. Anger's okay. It's a motivator as long as it's
A
tempered.
natural emotion. It's natural.
It's got to be tempered. You have
Yes.
to have uncontrolled anger is dangerous.
Yes.
Tempered anger, righteous anger is something that's actually necessary, to be honest with you.
I agree with you.
So,
So let's see if we can segue, as they say in the radio shops,
okay.
or acting or anything else for that matter, from that statement over to the I'm going to call it hashtag NFL, the take a knee routine that's been going on. I definitely have an opinion about it. I got lucky enough to see the actual charter under which the NFL operates.
I read it this morning.
Did you read it this morning?
A friend of mine sent it to me.
I put my Nico hat on. I noticed a couple of words in there.
Yeah. See if I can get it while you're talking.
Well, sometimes they use the word must, and at other times they use the word should.
Right.
And that's a very distinct
you want
difference
me to read it for
in
your
terms
audience?
of the law.
I have it right here. I just
Please,
pulled it up.
go for it.
The national anthem must be played prior to every NFL game, and all players must be on the sideline for the national anthem.
Right.
During the national anthem, players on the field and bench area stand at attention, face the flag, hold helmets in their left hand, and that gives them an opportunity, you can imagine, to
Yes.
put their right hand over the heart,
Right.
and refrain from talking. This is not may language. This is all, like, you have to do this. We say in the law, this is shall language, not may language.
Right.
The home team here's the should, home
Right.
team should ensure the American flag is in good condition. So it should be pointed out to players and coaches that we continue to be judged by the public in this area of respect for the flag in our country. Failure to be on the field by the start of the national anthem may result in discipline such as fines, suspensions, and forfeiture of draft choices for violations of the above, including first offenses. That's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
So they're saying failure to be on the sideline may result, and the reason why they use may language in rules like this, and
Yes,
why
sir.
we use may language in the law, is because not every situation is the same. So what if someone is not on the sidelines at the national anthem because they're on the phone or on FaceTime because their baby fell down and the wife or somebody is showing them that
Right.
it's okay? So that's extraordinary circumstances.
Sure.
But if it was what we call the strict definition, the strict letter of the law, regardless of the reason, whether you have the runs or whether your baby got hurt and they're going to the hospital and you're on the phone because your mama's sick, then that means you would be strictly liable and held accountable no matter what. So they leave the may language in there because there could be a viable reason why you'd be off of the side.
So that the level of punishment would be comparable to
maybe no
the
punishment
reason.
at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe
Right,
no
right.
punishment at all. I mean, if you have the stomach flu and you got the runs, or your kid's
Right.
sick and you're on the phone with your wife making sure they're okay, or something more severe and you're working on your flight plans to get back home, well, then you're not going to be on the sidelines, and that would not be justice to punish somebody for that. I think
agree.
I think it's well written, but the intent of this is very clear.
I agree.
You have to be on the sideline.
The intent.
You have to stand.
I like it.
We look at the
Well,
legislative
when they
intent.
tell you to hold the helmet in your left hand, there's a reason they
Very
do that.
specific,
Yeah,
sure.
it's very specific.
Because the country's tradition is to cover your heart with your right hand.
And absolutely, unless you're in uniform and you have your lid on, what they call
Correct.
your
Your
lid.
salute. Right.
So, but one of the things, every time I say the Pledge of Allegiance, and I always say it when the opportunity, I'm sure you do too.
Sure.
I trigger on the words when you're pledging allegiance to the flag and to the country which it represents. Mm-hmm. That to me that's a real key phrase in that pledge.
Yeah, to the republic for which it stands, right?
That's right.
And then we talk about one nation under God. We cannot be indivisible under God with liberty and justice for all. I mean, that's really,
It's
no one
just
really thinks about the words and dissects them. It's very meaningful.
Well, but if you, and I call it my Nico hat, my lawyer hat, which I can't wear a lawyer hat because I'm not one. But I've learned about through my PhD, each and every word has a meaning to it,
yes.
And they're put together in that, just like you said, the difference between a shall and a may, right? It's either a command type verb or it's a opportunity to do something.
Right.
So all this nonsense that's going on, and by the way, there's, because I get more of an opportunity probably to get filled in on it than you do.
I was just you're probably gonna have to brief me a little bit on some of this. I have an opinion because I came in up on the backside of it. I don't watch football, so I don't.
I don't either.
No.
I like college football from time to time. I never missed the Army-Navy game, but I went there. So
Sure.
Now they're coming up with the facts are coming out.
Okay.
A huge amount of the NFL's money to build their stadiums is actually taxpayer funded. They are subsidized to the tune of over $1 billion a year. And 20 stadiums have been built since 1997
I did not know that.
that used taxpayer funds to subsidize the building of the thing.
This
It doesn't
is not a
make
hard
any
issue.
sense to me.
This is not a hard issue.
I don't think
to me.
it is
This
either.
is not a hard. Look, my pop taught me a lot of things, and one of the things he said, "There's a time and a place for everything." That's it. It's just a time. That's not the time or the place to do that. There's proper decorum. I mean, obviously, the NFL has rules.
It's the NFL standing behind it that bothers me. This free speech thing. I mean,
the NFL, they are folding like a cheap suit. They are. I mean, from what I can see, unless here's another explanation.
to the demand to their players.
To the
Is that
demands
what you're
of
saying?
whomever, to the perception of the demands of the people or the players or whatever.
Okay.
I mean, the bottom line is this:
I like
there
it.
are judges. I don't know if I can say this word. Bleep it out if I can. There have been judges, not currently. There have been judges in my career that I wouldn't piss on if they were on fire,
Right.
because I think they're not good people. I mean, I'm making a moral assessment of their how they are, their character.
Yes.
But I still stand when they come into the courtroom.
Yep.
And when I address a judge, I stand up and I say, "Yes, Your Honor, no, Your Honor." And if I don't, it's not proper courtroom decorum. I
You're
can be
respecting
held
the
in contempt
position.
at some point. It's the position. So,
Yes.
what are they saying by doing this to the anthem and ultimately the flag? Are they saying our country sucks? Are they saying let's throw the baby out with the bathwater? Are they saying that even there's a season in our country or people within our country that represented it at whatever time in our history were not the best of folks or did bad things? So you disrespect the whole anthem that people died for. There's people in the stands with no leg,
Yep.
no arm, no loved one, no eye, a new normal because of the flag, because of this great country. And if the country sucks, I'm cool with hearing that. Then what country doesn't suck, and why don't you live there?
And what are you going to do to fix
Well,
this?
I'm just saying. I mean, I don't understand. And I'm not being sarcastic. I really don't understand. I deal with real life. I just reviewed 3 baby death cases. 3 baby deaths, heads smashed in, choked with ligatures, tongues and eyeballs bulging out of an infant found in a trash can. A woman sexually assaulted and cut from her vagina to her anus. This is the world that I live in. I see
You're
evil.
way too young to have to deal with
Oh,
that.
brother, this is what God has called me to do, and it's okay. I'm just telling you, it's every day for us. And so when I see something like this, and I'm okay with passion, I'm a passionate guy. I'm okay with standing up for what's right. But there's a time and a place for everything. It would not be appropriate for me to call a judge a bleep in court.
Right.
That is inappropriate. Now, if they're out of the robe, out of the courtroom, and we're two citizens, that's different. Maybe it's appropriate or maybe not. Who knows? And we get into discussion, and I voice my opinion later. But we cannot just say, I can say and do whatever I want. You can't even score a touchdown and do whatever you want. This makes no sense to me in consistency. So if I act like I'm peeing on a fire hydrant or do too much dancing and taunting, people get their hard-earned money, and they deserve to get paid money. I don't know how much, but they deserve to pay money. They fine them, can suspend them. There's consequences to how you act after a stupid-ass touchdown.
Yes.
But yet, you can do whatever you want with the national anthem that gives you the platform in this great country to make millions of dollars for a childhood game. And that's okay to disrespect that process, but we're going to protect the touchdown process. Now, tell me how that makes sense. If you can, I promise you I'll change my opinion. I just don't know. I've thought it through. I can't think of it. He's speechless. Okay.
I don't have a solution.
Well,
I mean, my solution's the same as yours.
And I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not being flippant. I'm not
understand.
being anything. I'm really asking that question.
It doesn't, and I don't see how anybody that would ask that question can support what's going on. You know what I mean? It just doesn't.
I just don't understand for me,
it's one of those things where you sort of sit back and you go, there's got to be something that I'm not being told. There's got to be something that
it's even something. I'm so stupid that I'm even simpler than that. I just need consistency. The logic behind people's behavior has to be applied in other settings.
Yes.
So the logic behind defending this, in my opinion, this is my opinion,
Yes,
disrespectful behavior has to be applied in touchdowns, in a courtroom,
Yes.
anywhere. So if I don't like you, then society is going to say it's appropriate for me to go to your family funeral, your family wedding, a family birthday to express my dislike for you.
Right.
People, there's no one that would think that's appropriate. They would say, Nico, you're an idiot. We don't care how you think of Doc. You should express it in another time. Say it the same way, but you have really quote unquote overstepped your bounds, and you're doing it in the wrong settings.
That's right.
But yet, this is not overstepping our bounds.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
I don't know.
You.
I'm open-minded. I'll listen.
I'll listen. It's having the appropriate repercussions. Let's put it that way.
What are they doing? People are fired up?
Oh, yeah, against the NFL. I mean,
so be it.
They had to give back almost 90% of the money to their season ticket holders. One of the teams did.
9-0?
9-0.
Good for them, man.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd just said, no, we're not going to put
Look,
up
here's
with
the deal, man. I truly believe in appropriate free speech. We know that free speech is not, you can't. The classic. Everybody likes to use the fire in a movie theater.
Correct.
You can't tell someone, shoot him, hurry, Doc, shoot him. We got to go. Under the law of parties, I'm responsible for your shooting.
That's right.
We're both charged with murder.
We're there together.
Or capital murder.
Right.
So we know that you can't just say whatever you want. These NFL players, with the millions of dollars they make, and let's not begrudge them for that, but let's not ignore the fact that they're making millions of dollars for playing football. And which, so be it.
Only because they had more Big Macs growing up than you and I did.
Well, I don't know, but the market warrants it, and so I'm okay with free market. I'm that guy, okay?
Okay.
So I'm cool with it for now, but we still
you.
can't lose sight of that. I'm just saying, why can't you use social media? Why can't you call a press conference? You can still make your point. It just doesn't have to be in that setting where the whole world is watching. And why don't we let the world know that even though we disagree passionately on different incidents or different issues, we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's it. And
one of the teams did that. Well, I mean, if I remember, it was Pittsburgh, but their decision was to stay in the locker room as a united group. One guy came out.
So hold on. So the decision was to, how about get out of the locker room, stand on the sidelines, and respect the flag,
follow the rules,
and respect, and then guess what? And then honor the fact that after the game, you can say almost anything you want on social media, and you can have a press conference. Because if you try this crap in North Korea, in China, in Yemen, see what happens to you.
Right.
See what happens when you buck the system. See how much free speech you have in these other countries.
Right.
I mean, it's a rhetorical scenario that I'm giving you because we know the answers. But it's nothing that goes through people's mindsets. Again, I'm not trying to squelch their opinions. They're entitled to their opinions.
Well,
my issue is the time and the place. I just think it's inappropriate. I really do.
No, I don't disagree with you. It is inappropriate. I mean, that's just all. That's the bottom line, and I'm with you. So
that was the beginning of a segue. The next part of the conversation I had with Nico was about Trump bashing and, the pushback against the president, which we will save for next week. I wanted to get his input on the NFL protests. Mm-hmm. The NFL protest, the taking a knee, which was at about 14 players until President Trump came out and spoke against it and rallied some folks in Alabama and consequently the entire nation against this protest, was 14 players in the entire NFL. This past weekend, there were over 200 players, the first weekend after Trump spoke. We'll see what happens next weekend.
And third graders, too.
Yes. I mean, it's not just it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't hold it against the third graders. They're not old enough to know what they're doing.
Right.
Or, the intent of what they're doing. And that's where we're going to talk about the connection to the deep state. But this all started with a guy by the, a third string quarterback for some team out on the left coast. I'm not
even sure what team
an
it was.
NFL fan. I think it was San Francisco. A fellow by the name of whose name you couldn't pronounce until he did this, Colin Kaepernick, right? Mm-hmm. He was the sole protester that started this whole gizmo, right? They published a couple of days ago Colin Kaepernick's voting record. Do you know what his voting record is? This will astonish.
No idea.
No.
This will come. Are you sitting down?
I'm sitting
Yes,
down.
I'm sitting. Mm-hmm.
Colin Kaepernick has never voted.
Gee. Seriously?
Seriously.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
He doesn't belong here.
He definitely doesn't have a right to protest.
That's
No.
right.
You can't. There's an understanding. If you're not smart enough to know, then let me inform you as a premier Doc Owen show listener. If you don't vote, you don't complain. End of discussion.
That's right.
If you don't participate in the process, then you can't throw rocks at the results. Right? I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, just think about it. But that's where it started. Now let's talk. If you're not familiar with the term deep state, and you didn't listen to last week's broadcast, which we played a farewell speech by Dwight David Eisenhower, 1961,
Great speech.
when he left the presidency and warned the entire United States about the growing menace and the potential problem with this thing called the military-industrial complex. And it was a combination of the military and all of the war machinery that had been built up and needed to keep their factories running, but really couldn't without conflict, right? And he warned us about that, and he warned us about their intentions within the United States. 1961. So what is that? 56 years ago. I was there, and I happened not at the speech, but I was actively engaged in 1961.
Sure.
I mean, there's reasons for that. Go back and listen to last week's show. Grab the podcast.
Yeah.
It's a good one. But that when you hear people today talking about the deep state, that's what they're referring to. Is this and when you hear people talking about draining the swamp, that's also what they're talking about. So how do you get rats out of the basement? How do you, if you've got rats or if you've got problems in the basement, what's the best thing you can do?
Feed him peanuts.
Besides that, actually, it's peanut butter.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Shine a light on it. Right? Shine a light on it. Mm-hmm. Bring it up to visible. These guys will scurry and head for the darkest corner that they can find.
That's
Now,
a good
think
point.
about that in the context of what's going on today. Now, back to the NFL protest and your mention of the third graders. I would submit to you that an awful lot of this is deep state motivated. There are so many, what are they called? Something idiots. Not
Blithering?
not uninformed idiots, but
Not Dacre.
no,
Oh.
but they really don't know what they're doing. They're being manipulated.
Yeah.
They're being used. Useful
Exactly.
idiots. That's what they call them.
Useful
They're,
idiots.
They're
There
being
you go.
used. They're being fed alternative talking points to the extent that the deep state, of which the media is part, whether the media recognizes it or not, the mainstream media is, not the alternate media, not the internet, not the things that go on outside of cable television and outside of daily newspapers. They are fed false narratives by the deep state. We know this to be true.
Yes.
They know this to be true. And yet they publish it anyway because it serves their view of what we should be. Right?
That's right.
So can you see a dot? Can you see a series of dots between what I just put out there and this NFL protest?
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of dots. What?
You know what do you understand what I'm saying? They're useful idiots.
Yeah.
Colin
Well,
LeBron James came out talking about voting for Trump. Did you hear what he said?
I did not. I saw the headline, but I did not hear what he said.
Let me just tell you. Let me just say it this way. And actually, Ben Shapiro said it almost exactly this way. The guy went straight from high school to the NBA. He's a multimillionaire
Right.
that cannot speak English, cannot speak proper English. His press conferences are an embarrassment. That you pay somebody that much.
Yeah.
And it's not the pay. I don't care about
No,
that. It's the idolization. It's the respect for, because he's LeBron James, then he knows things that others don't.
Yeah, and it's typical of what we're teaching our kids. It's absolutely immoral and unjustified to not let people become educated in what they're going to be talking about. You follow what I'm saying? There's an immorality, there's an injustice to the way that all of this works.
It's all,
taking a kid out of high school and making him a multimillionaire is not a good thing.
well,
For most.
there's no. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's no respect for
Exactly.
LeBron James, the man. He is a useful idiot. For the millions of dollars that he makes, so do the owners that employ him. So does the entire apparatus. And we've moved from the NFL to the NBA, but in my mind, they're all the same.
Yes, they are.
The only one so far that's standing out as unique is NASCAR, who has said, "Don't even try that down here."
Yeah. Yeah.
But so it's creeping across all elements, and it's a narrative. I guarantee you won't find. I mean, actually, it was exposed that the person who put Kaepernick up to it was his Muslim girlfriend, who is a member of all sorts of anti-American Muslim organizations. and put this poor, uninformed, useful idiot up to this nonsense.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those of you who think that Trump, I would submit something else to you. Donald Trump's statements and subsequent Twitter activity about the NFL protest, he was not speaking solely for Donald Trump.
Right.
He actually, again, as usual, was speaking for the majority of the American public. And whether the minority likes it or not, them's the facts.
Them's a fact.
You
I
know.
can connect a couple of the dots.
Please.
Because
Got you thinking? Did I get you thinking?
Yes, because
Good.
this whole deep state thing
Yep.
is part of what has been going on for the last 100 years with the progressives, okay? So,
Well, I just told you. We just saw it start with President number 4.
well, yeah, exactly, exactly. But they've taken over institutions of this country.
Oh, sure.
So, the
sure.
schools,
They're down to-
everything.
they're
So
down to first
why not
grade. They're down to-
entertainment. Why not use sports?
Yeah, sure.
Also to
that's part of
destroy
entertainment.
the country.
Well,
Yeah.
and the
I mean,
reason
they're capturing everything.
the reason all that's out there is like the old days in Rome when you went to the Colosseum to see Christians fed to the lions.
Yeah.
That was sport. Well, now it's called football. Now it's called basketball.
I guess you're right.
And now it's called it, and it's a matter of keeping the uninformed, useful idiots entertained, so they don't have time to think or read or
Exactly.
study or
Exactly.
participate in other issues. Right?
That's right.
They work their tails off to get enough money to be season ticket holders. And you have coaches speaking out. San Antonio Spurs is a good example.
Oh, please.
Well,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But it's not the Spurs; it's the coach.
I said the San Antonio Spurs have coaches speaking out.
Did you? Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
San Antonio
I missed-
Spurs is a
yeah.
good example,
Yeah.
not the Spurs.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm with Nico. It's not your forum. That's not. So you've made a name for yourself as an athlete or as a coach or as whatever. Congratulations. Use that name on your own time to go to Facebook, to go to any social media, to go to Twitter, to call a press conference. If just like LeBron James, if you call a press conference, people will come. Not even knowing what you're talking about, just the fact that you are LeBron James and I'm going to talk about something, right?
Right.
And I'm telling you, the deep state. I'm trying to help young people in the audience understand. There are very nefarious forces in this country that are very, very deeply embedded. That's called deep state, and they are brilliant in their ability to manipulate you and manipulate your attitude and your knowledge. You must rise above that. You must educate yourself. You must, I don't mean go to college. I'm talking about educating yourself.
Yeah.
Understand that your God-given liberties are what this country is about protecting. Not protecting you by what the Constitution gave to you, but the Constitution is to protect you for what God gave to you.
That's correct.
Right?
Excellent.
And that includes the ability to have free speech. But it doesn't. If you're going to do free speech, please be informed.
Right.
Don't be stupid.
Right.
Know what you're talking about and know how to say it so that it's effective. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Good. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.